Welcome to the agenda with me, Lasha Kingsley. The coronavirus is not only a threat, a public health emergency, it is also poses a major threat to the world's economy. It has already caused global stock markets to crash, raising fears of recession. Leaders around the world have adopted language of war to capture the scale of the threat posed by the virus. Will we get the dramatic, coordinated emergency intervention needed to stave off economic disaster? Swebu Treye, CEO of Tropical Trading Company Limited, Cameroon, and the 2018 winner of the International Star for Quality Award in the Gold category, will be telling us how the virus might affect Africa's economy in general and Cameroon in particular. I will be right back. Swebu Treye, thanks so much for accepting to be guest on this edition of the program.
It is a pleasure having you here this afternoon, Mr. Lasha Kingsley. Like you rightly said, my name is Treye Swebu. I am a native of Babawan village in Dop, that is in the northwest region of Cameroon. I am, of course, like you mentioned, the founder and the CEO of Tropical Trading Company. I am equally the CEO and the founder of Asset Management and Services Group, that is AMG Group, all based here in Douala. Thank you.
Coronavirus has imposed a world lockdown, and looking at the fact that most African countries, as you know, depend on importation of finished products from the West. Do you think that Africa will survive in the long run should this tendency persist?
Yes, I believe confidently that Africa is going to survive. Even though the pandemic that we are actually going through or like witnessing at the present moment is more like the 2008 economic crisis that equally ravaged the entire world's economy. But one of the reasons I believe Africa will survive is because of the nature of Africans. It is because of the diversity of Africa in terms of culture and many other issues that I may not name them here. Even though a country like Cameroon, like many other African countries, they depend on imported products that comes from the Western countries like Europe, Asia, America, and the rest. But we cannot only count on those products to survive. You know, even before we started consuming those products, Africans and African countries were surviving. So coronavirus is just one of the crises that African countries has gone through, and I truly believe that we will overcome this crisis.
Prior to 2020, Cameroon's GDP was projected at 39 billion francs CFA, or 39 billion US dollars rather, according to Economics Global Model Analysis expectation. With the outbreak of this virus, what lies the fate of Cameroon's GDP post-coronavirus?
Yeah, listen, Mr. Lasha Kingsley, the case of Cameroon is a very peculiar case. Peculiar in the sense that Cameroon is the only country in sub-Saharan Africa that has the most diversified economy. When I talk about the diversity of our economy, I want to talk about the domain of agriculture, the domain of mines and many others, timber and the rest. You know, countries of the Central African sub-region solely rely on Cameroon to survive. So what Gabon will be going through during this crisis or after the crisis is not what Cameroon will go through. What the Central African Republic or Chad Republic or either Congo will be going through is not the same situation that Cameroon will go through, because we have a lot of probabilities or a lot of solutions to survive with. So the case of Cameroon is a very peculiar case, despite the budget or the GDP that you actually talked about. You know, if we cannot sell our timber, we will be able to sell our petrol. If we cannot sell petrol, we will be able to survive with the basic commodities like, I don't know, maize and many other things that we export.
But there is lockdown. Where are we going to sell this petrol and the products we are talking about? Selling to Cameroonians, you know that people are getting short of cash, money. Companies, individuals don't have money. Money is running out of, cash is running out of hand.
You need to go to the seaport, the international seaport of Douala to know if the lockdown is effective or not. You know, even though the air, the sea, and the land borders were locked down, but one thing which is sure is that if you go to the seaport of Douala, you will realize that importation has simply reduced, but there are still ships that are entering into the seaport of Douala, those enabling Cameroonians and even countries of the sub-region to survive. This is just the reality. And like I actually said, people will not only survive out of money from their pocket, but they can survive without money. Surviving without money, because when you have money, you make money to buy food to eat. We have the food. You make money to buy oil to prepare your food with, but we have the possibility of getting our own oil here. That is actually not the situation with Chad. That cannot be the situation with Central Africa. So when we want to look at the problem globally as far as Africa or the Central African sub-region is concerned, we should be more concerned about countries like Equatorial Guinea. We should be more concerned about countries like Central Africa, Chad, and the rest. But when you look at the fertility of our soil, it tells you that Cameroon cannot go into some kind of famine crisis in the next 6 months or even a year. We saw the crumbling of the economy of Cameroon as far back as the year 1990. But 20 or 30 years later, you can realize, like me, that Cameroon is still standing. So it means the diversity of Cameroon is such that for the economy to crumble, it requires a lot of time.
So like I said a while ago, on both levels, both corporate and individuals, people are actually running out of money. Literally running out of money while our leaders keep talking big.
Yes, they keep talking big out of confidence. Like I told you, I will still have to come back concerning finance. Cameroon is one of the country in the Central African sub-region that has a high-profile financial credibility at the level of the World Bank, at the level of the Central African Bank and the rest. That will shock you. Despite the different crises Cameroon has gone through, you should look back, you should go back to 2014 and so when Boko Haram started. You know, running a war is not an easy task. You can imagine how much Cameroon so far has spent in combating, in fighting against Boko Haram. Then after 2014, the crisis in the eastern region of our country came up from Central Africa. Cameroon still survived from that crisis. And in 2016, we witnessed what is known today as the Anglophone crisis. And Cameroon is still surviving. One thing to make you understand that money is not actually running out of the coffers is that the treasury of Cameroon is still full with money. Why is it still full with money? When you try to look at how much the salary, that is the salary of civil servants in Cameroon cost per month, and since in between 2016 till now, those civil servants, they keep receiving their salaries on time, on specific date. Those are indicators, few indicators that makes you to understand that an economy is having a stand. That is why I keep arguing that despite the situation, the coronavirus situation, Cameroon is a country that has been used to crisis. When you look
the
at
economy is resilient.
It is very resilient, very, very resilient, and will be more resilient even because of the diversified nature of our economy.
So where are we now?
At the present moment, I would tell you Cameroon is still being able to finance some major projects in the country. If you try to look around, you will be able to realize that some of the major projects, like many other roads, like the stadiums and the rest, those projects are still going on. And despite what the country is actually putting at the present moment. But don't forget about the solidarity Cameroonians they have. Look at some, I think just a month ago, when the President of the Republic called Cameroonians to take part in National Solidarity Fund. In less than a week or two, I think close to about 5 billion francs CFA was put in the coffers. That is one thing to tell you that not only the businessmen who are in Cameroon, but the entire Cameroonians, they do not want the economy of Cameroon to crumble, to fall. So they will continue to fight like people belonging to the same family or belonging to the same mother to make the nation stand.
So recently, the G20 countries agrees to freeze debt for the poorest countries in Africa and the world, with Cameroon amongst those countries. So is it good news for the government of Cameroon?
Yes, you know, today when we talk about coronavirus, it is a kind of a global crisis. It is a global crisis that concerns almost all the nations of the world. If you try to look at the number of people who have died, and if you try to look at the prediction of the World Health Organization, you know, he actually predicted that a lot of people were going to die in Africa. And when we look at the way the virus is progressing, or the rate at which people are being affected, it tells you that in the months ahead or in the years ahead, a lot of things will happen in Africa, and particularly in Cameroon. So it was the right moment for the World Bank, for instance, or the International Monetary Fund to do something for other African countries, or countries that are poor, they consider to be poor, and more particularly Cameroon. Because even if the coronavirus, the COVID-19 was not at hand, it was the right moment for the international community to assist Cameroon. Like I mentioned some minutes ago, in between 2016 till now, 2014 till now, Cameroon has been going through crisis. So no other country in the world will go through such crisis, and the world closes her eyes at her.
So what is the secret of Cameroon? You are an economist.
Yes.
Let's talk numbers.
Yeah.
What are the secret? What is the secret of
like
Cameroon?
I told you, I mentioned in my intro that Cameroon today is the only country in sub-Saharan Africa that is having the most diversified economy, primary commodities in sub-Saharan Africa. So you will not find that in Gabon. You will not see the same situation in Central Africa, Congo, and even Chad. Do not forget that countries like Chad and Gabon and even Central Africa, they mostly rely on the seaport, on the Douala seaport or the Kribi seaport to bring in imported goods that need consumption in their countries. For instance, you know, most of those consumed imported goods, they pass through Cameroon by road to Chad. They pass through
countries.
Exactly. A country like Chad is not having a seaport. A country like Central Africa and the rest. And the fertility of the Cameroon soil is another advantage for Cameroon. So those are the different secrets. We wouldn't even call it a secret, but we will call it is a kind of blessing, because rare are countries in the world where you find them with basic primary commodities like what Cameroon is having. You know, like I told you, if we don't sell coffee, we will sell cuckoo. We don't sell cuckoo, we will sell timber. If we don't sell timber, we will survive with our petrol and the rest. Then we don't have any issue of food and the rest. But now, the main problem we have in Cameroon particularly is industrializing our manufacturing countries. You know, for instance, I will tell you till now, a company like an industry like Brazzeries, they continue to import maize from the country. With the fertile situation of our soil, we would have not been importing maize from out of our borders to produce alcoholic drinks and the rest, and sell them out to Cameroonians. So those are the small problems we are still facing.
So we have to go back to the agricultural sector.
Yes, of course. You know, the President of the Republic, I think some years back, he called the attention of young Cameroonians to go back to the agricultural sectors, and they should equally involve themselves in the information and technology sector. Those are the two leading sectors. Like I told you, in one of my company, we are into real estate. And what motivated me to come up with this company was because I saw the world's population. When you try to look at the way the population of the world is actually growing, you will notice that in between now and the year 2035 or 2050, the world's population will double by 2. And they will be in need of 2 things. They will need what to eat and where to live. That is, they will be in need of shelter, and they will equally be in need of food. So if you don't invest in real estate, you should invest in agriculture to fight what the crisis that will be coming.
Home industries, for example, in Cameroon before the outbreak of coronavirus suffered from dumping with the closure of our borders. Mr. Soebu Trey, can we say this is good news for our home industries? We used to have goods coming in from the European Union almost duty, custom free without any duty. So is it good news for our home-based industries?
Yeah, you are talking there about the economic partnership that Cameroon signed some years back with the European Union. But it was not of a helping hand to Cameroonians particularly and countries of the sub-region. You should notice that so far, China is actually controlling the entire world's economy. So he that is not trading with China today is like running in a bag. So the problem, the economic partnership that Cameroon actually signed with the European Union was not of any high interest. We should be crying about how goods are no longer coming from Asia into Cameroon, and about how goods are no longer coming from Asia into countries of the sub-region. But the problem here is, if you look back as far back as 2 or 3 years back, you will realize that the President of the Republic, I am coming back to him, he asked Cameroonians to go back to their different farms, come up with different industries and so on. You will
so how
notice,
would they do this with the dumping?
Yes, with the dumping, I think the crisis will not last for long. You must have read a communique signed by the Minister of Transport, I think 2 days ago, asking the authorities of the Douala Seaport and the Yaoundé International Seaport to give access to...
Airport, Yaoundé International Airport?
Yes, the Yaoundé International Airport to allow the French aircraft to land, especially the commercial sector.
The next question I was coming to ask you about, about that the Cameroonian government is on record as saying that it will resume commercial flights for Air France, writing to the Director General of the Cameroon Civil Aviation Authority. Transport Minister Jean-Ernest Ngale Bibiye says that it will run till June 30th, and all those permitted on flights must show proof of being COVID-19 negative. How does it do this?
Yes, even though I see that decision as myopic, very myopic in the sense that we are yet to completely eradicate the COVID-19 pandemic in our soil. But at the same time, on the other hand, I think a lot of measures are being put in place to make sure they have control over the people that will be coming into our country. Because, if we have had a high rate of propagation of this particular virus, it is because the country was not prepared. And secondly, we did not have the necessary materials to actually contain the virus or those who were being affected. But I think at the present moment, with the effort made by Cameroonians, effort made by international communities, don't forget we received some assistance from JACMA, who is a Chinese, assisting our country to be able to fight against the virus. And we have a lot of opposition leaders as well who are fighting, doing as much as they can to help Cameroonians to come out with or to get solutions to this. So what is sure is that this measure is a myopic decision, but at the same time, the country needs to survive. Don't forget, Cameroon is like the power bank. It is like the power bank of the Central African sub-region. So the moment Cameroon is destabilized economically, automatically the other countries of the sub-region.
So this is something that is affecting the whole world. Health and economy. We put economy first to health.
No, we cannot put economy health first to health. But the problem now is that without the economy, no one can be healthy because you need money to survive. When there is no money, you cannot get yourself treated. And for you to get money, the economy should be functional.
Sir, you may want to agree with me that most Cameroonians are not happy about the accompanying measures taken by the government of the country recently to relieve some sectors of the economy that were suffering as a result of the stringent measures put in place to fight COVID-19 in Cameroon. Most of them are saying that the price of fuel should have been dropped at the pumps.
Yes, that question is vital. But on the other hand, you should try to measure what we call patriotism. You know, the COVID-19 is a global crisis that has affected or is affecting each and every individual in the world. And you saw how in Italy, all Italians came out to join their government to fight the crisis. I think this is what should have been taking place in Cameroon. We are talking here about the health situation of people. We are talking about the lives of people. We should not be talking about us making money. Now Cameroonians should be thinking but on how they should survive. And
so
for
how
them,
do they survive
for them to survive,
money?
The government should have that financial capability of like helping them, assisting them to survive. Because when a taxi driver, like you just mentioned, for example, falls sick and goes to the hospital, he does not expect the money he has gotten from his taxi driving to get himself cured. You know, like the Minister of Health in one of his communiques actually indicated that each and every Cameroonian has the right to get him or herself treated in any hospital without money being paid. So all the money you see him spending left and right, or the hospital giving you free of charge treatment, it is out of the fuel that is sold. It is out of the money, the taxes that people pay on daily basis. No government in the world is having a machine where they produce
most of them, have argued that in some
freedom.
other countries you have the president move around and distribute some basic necessities to the population. For example, we have in Senegal, we have in Uganda, we have in Rwanda, where Paul Kagame has been seen in public distributing some foodstuffs to the population. And in some other countries, electricity and water is free for 3-6 months. Why is that not happening in Cameroon? Does it mean that the economic impact is so huge? If the government has to take that decision, the financial burden will be too much for the government to bear?
Yeah, you know, in 1990, when the Cameroonian football team, the national football team of Cameroon, when they went up to the level of quarterfinals of the World Cup, you know, while Cameroonians were jubilating, those countries, you cited their names, Senegal and the rest, they were not jubilating. They were actually asking the same questions from their president and from their citizens. Why Cameroon went up to the level of quarterfinals, why a big country like Senegal, Uganda, and the rest, they stayed behind. So today, this is the period of COVID-19. And the same question, Senegalese or Cameroonians are asking the same questions to their president and to Cameroonians, while the Senegalese are enjoying. So Cameroon is Cameroon and Senegal is Senegal. But if you want to take the situation of Senegal, the case of Macky Sall, how old is Macky Sall? This is just the problem. The first problem here...
Idriss Déby, no.
Water
is free,
yes,
3 months.
Yeah, we are talking now about the president distributing health materials and the rest. You should take note of what we call patriage. We call patriage in the French language. When someone has reached a certain age, a group, we need to give that person
some credit,
and respect. Because me sitting just behind, in front of you today, I don't believe at the age of 60 or 70, I will be able to do what I am doing at the present moment. This is just the problem. So we should not even create some kind of polemics. We know the age of our president. We know the age of the president of Cameroon. We know that there are certain things he can no longer do them. But what is sure is that a prime minister is there, ministers are there, government officials are there, and they are even doing far more better than even what he could have done if he was like as active as he used to be in the years back. Then looking now at the other measures you were talking about, allowing electricity, Cameroonians to enjoy electricity for free, having water for free, and all the like. How can electricity bill that used to cost like 3,000 francs per month or maybe 10,000 francs per month, how can that be more better than all the distributions of materials that you find people distributing here and there, in between what has been distributed so far and compared to the cost of electricity?
Not everybody has benefited. The president gave instruction that vulnerable people should be targeted. Those who are vulnerable, like, you know, the blind, people who cannot do anything for themselves. So,
what the government is not doing the opposition parties are doing. I saw one young lady who belongs to PCRN giving a lot of giving a lot of gift out there in the southwest and many other areas. I have seen the team of Mr. Kanto giving gift into blind people and the rest. So the government cannot be everywhere at the same time. Where is what we call individual responsibilities, social responsibilities, or the social responsibilities of political parties? They are in the field. When you try to look at the government gift coordinated by the Minister of Territorial Administration, of course, in that communique you heard of 360 municipalities in Cameroon. When we talk about 360 municipalities, it is about subdivisions and the rest. So when you talk about subdivisions, it touches the people who are really living, surviving from hand to mouth. What else do Cameroonians want? If they can go to a subdivision and like Babisi and distribute a bucket, they distribute hand sanitizers, they distribute soups, like what I saw in Ngogotunja division, for instance, I think people should not be asking more than that. And beside that, we are just forgetting so far that the government of Cameroon is going through a serious economic crisis, like I mentioned, since 2014. So no other economy in the world will stand what Cameroon has gone through for the past 6 years.
Let's talk about some of your achievements now. You were a winner in the gold category of International Quality Award in 2019, if I got my facts correctly. So how did you get to winning this award? And what do you do at the level of your organization that sold the image of Cameroon right up to that level?
Yeah, the first correction I will bring in is that I am a double award, international award winner. I won one in Germany in 2018. Then the second award I won was in Spain, that is in the city of Madrid in 2019. So to come back to what I do and how I was recognized by the international community, the first thing you need to note here is that in between the year 2004 to up to 2008, I was a journalist working with Dynamic FM radio here in Douala. Then in 2008, I came up with my company, Tropical Trading Company, and later in 2016, I created the Asset Management and Services Group, that is the AMG Group. You know, I was selected in 179 countries by entrepreneurs representing 179 countries in the world. So I got the first award in Germany, like I said, and it is an international award for quality. You know, when they talk about quality, it is about how you manage your people, your employees. It is about how you manage money, and it is about how you manage time. So time management, money management, and human resource management are the key points. And you know, for you to be elected or to reach at that particular level, your name need to be selected in all the 179 countries in the world. So you have to move around, people vote, owners of business organizations, they have to vote, and when you get to that level, you go through some questions, then you have to defend certain project and the rest before you are selected. So this is just how
You fly the flag of Cameroon high, so high.
Yes, of course.
At a time when the image of Cameroon was put to question by the international community.
Exactly. One of the most important things that marked the event was the fact that the first award I got was in 2008 and the second in 2019. And that was actually when the what we call Anglophone crisis was really hitting. And you know, at that particular moment, all the entire world was focused on Cameroon. So just like a big surprise in 2018 and 2019, they saw a Cameroonian in Germany raising the Cameroon, the green, red, yellow high. Then they saw the same Cameroonian in Madrid, in the city of Madrid in Spain, raising again the green, red, yellow. So that was one way or the other telling the world, and Cameroonians particularly, that all is not gone. And you know, one of the most important things is that the person who rose that flag was an Anglophone. An Anglophone again from where? From Ndop is in yes, Ngowetunja division. So you know what is actually happening, what we call today the Anglophone crisis, concerns Anglophone particularly in Cameroon, and I am one coming from one of the area that is hit by the so-called Anglophone crisis. So I want to believe in one way or the other that God is after us, God is after Anglophones, and God is after Cameroon entirely as a nation. So, you know, in every nation, problems will always come up. It is not the problems that comes up, it is the way you handle the problem. Yes, you solve the problems that matter. So I believe the government and even the parties concerned are working hard day and night to see that they consider all Cameroonians to be the same.
Treya Swebu, thank you so much for accepting to be guest on this edition of the program.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you, even though greeting hand on hand is not is not allowed. So thank you.
No, we took the precautionary measures.
Yeah, thank you very much.